Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So yesterday we have seen one numerical example for design of axially loaded column, and we also started the introduction for the design of columns which are subjected to uniaxial bending. So regarding that, what is the concept of axial compression and uniaxial bending we have discussed. We have also discussed the four different cases which occurs depending upon the amount of eccentricity for the analysis of these kind of columns. These are the four cases we discussed about the strain diagram and stress diagram for each case yesterday, and then we also discussed about the modes of failure in case of eccentrically loaded columns. Okay, now let us come to the point that how these columns are analyzed and designed. There are two ways for analysis and design of eccentrically loaded column. One is either by using the equations. Obviously, these equations are derived based on the strain diagram and stress diagram, whatever we have discussed yesterday, depending upon the different cases. That is, depending upon the depth of neutral axis, we have to select the appropriate case. Then, accordingly, we have to select the appropriate strain diagram and stress diagram. And then, by making use of the equations, we have to analyze the column. And accordingly, we have to design the column. Or this is the first method. And second method is by making use of the interaction curves. We will discuss first with the first method. Here in this particular slide, I have used two cases. First is when xu is less than or equal to d. That is when depth of neutral axis is within the section. In this case, the partial or the some portion of the column will be subjected to compression and the remaining portion will be subjected to tension, because our strain diagram is like a double triangular. This is the strain diagram, and in this portion there is complete compression and in this portion there is a tension. Now you have already learned in MOS 1 that whatever the load acting on any structural component, it is always balanced by the internal forces developed by that component. Okay, so it is simply a equilibrium concept that whatever is the external load, that should get balanced by the internal forces developed in the member. Now the member, how the force is developed in the member, obviously it is developed in the material, specific material. Here we are using two materials, concrete and steel. So the forces developed by the steel and concrete because of the external load, these two forces should be equal to the external load to achieve the equilibrium. So the same equation is written over here, that if Pu is the external load acting on a column, Cc will be the force of compression develop in concrete, and Cs will be the force of compression developed in steel. So addition of these two, because there are two materials and both these materials are combinedly resisting the force. So the force developed in both these materials combinedly will resist the external load Pu. Similarly, if there is a moment acting, then this moment will be resisted by the moment shown by the concrete and moment showed or resisted by the steel. So again, for equilibrium, the external moment should be equal to the internal moment developed due to these internal forces. These forces will develop some moment, internal moment, which will be written in the form of mc and ms for concrete and steel respectively. Now, how we represent the force? Any force is equal to stress into area. We know that. Okay, so the stress cc is the force in a concrete, so stress in the concrete is represented as fck into the area bd, and always this particular multiplication or this particular product is multiplied by some constant. That constant is depending upon how our strain diagram varies and how our stress diagram varies. Okay, similar like here we are considering the stress as 0.447 fck. So in that fashion I have simply written one constant will be there associated with this particular product. Now this force multiplied by lever arm will develop an internal moment which we can find out as mc. Okay, that is a moment resisted by the concrete. So the force resist or developed by the concrete multiplied by the lever arm. Now in first case, or if we consider any particular case, if this is the total depth of the column, this is the total depth of the column. So half the depth of the column minus x will be the position of the neutral axis. Now this particular term lever arm will change depending upon where our xu is lying. Okay, whether it is within the column or outside the column. Depending upon that, this lever arm distance will change. Now, similarly, the force developed by the steel will be considered as the equivalent stress developed in the steel, or rather, I should say, if you remember the doubly reinforced section analysis formulae, whatever we have used. So, the force stress developed in a steel in tension, or the stress developed in a steel minus FSC, that is stress developed in the concrete, that subtraction is multiplied by the area of the steel. So same concept is used here, but here now we have to consider, suppose if we are considering the first case, all these bars are in compression whereas these bars are in tension. So whatever the stress developed in all these bars minus the stress developed by the concrete surrounding these bars, that subtraction we have to consider. This equivalent stress we have to consider developed by the each and every individual reinforcing bars. Okay, so total area of the steel multiplied by the stress developed or shown by the steel. So this will give us the force developed in the steel. Similarly, this force developed in the steel multiplied by its lever arm, I have written here as yi. So now this value will change with respect to every bar. This is, if we consider this bar, then this yi will be different. If I'm considering this bar, the yi will be different. Okay, so for every force developed in a steel multiplied by its lever arm, their summation will give us the moment resisted by the steel. Now, if you simply, I have written all these formulas in the form of some certain expressions. Okay, when we want to actually calculate all these values, the time required for calculation is large, because each and every bar we have to find out its stress and then its lever arm and then find out the addition. So it is a time consuming task. And also this is just we have considered for one single case where xu is less than d. When xu is greater than t, again the entire section is in compression. Corresponding strain diagram we have to consider, stress diagram we have to consider, then find out the forces resisted by concrete and steel. Similarly, find out the moment resisted by concrete and steel. And then, depending upon these forces, then we need to find out the reinforcement. Okay, so if in short, if you consider all these equations, by using or by making use of these equations, when we do the analysis and design of columns, it becomes a very lengthy and complicated process. Okay, so to avoid all these complicated calculations and to save the time, another concept has been emerged, and that is by making use of the interaction curve. Now, it has been already identified or found through experiment that the behavior of a concrete, it depends upon what is the force, axial force acting on a concrete, and what is the moment acting, not concrete, of column. What is the force acting on a column and what is the moment acting on an entire column. Okay, now it is also observed that when pu, that is the axial force, is having a higher magnitude, the corresponding moment will be of lower magnitude. This has been observed. Okay, so and it is also observed that for a specific value of load p, there is a specific value of a moment m. Obviously, these values will depend upon what is e, or in other terms, what is m. M depends on e. So if we know e, a fixed value, and if we know p as a fixed value, m will be fixed. There will be a combination of these two. So depending upon E value, and if we know already what is the force acting, we can easily find out M, and we can even plot a diagram. Okay, now this diagram is called as an interaction curve. Now interaction curve is actually a diagram in which, if you consider this particular curve, on this curve we will find out the various values for the load P and M. Now these load P and M are actually the resisting load. That is, whatever is the external load acting on a column, we denote it by Pu. External moment acting on a column, we denote it by Mu. The resisting force developed in the column, we denote by PUR. It is written here. And the resisting moment developed in the column, we denote by MUR. So these are the forces which are the internal forces developed in the column to keep the column in equilibrium and to balance the external load acting on a column. So these values can be find out on this particular curve. Okay, now this curve is also having a relation with the E value. E is nothing but the eccentricity. We have already considered the different conditions of E. That is when E is 0, that is E is 0 means if I will put 0 here, what is my M value? What will be M? It will be 0, right? So it means it will be the first case. It will be the case of purely axially loaded column. So at E equal to 0, this is we will get the PU value or PUR value on this y-axis. Y-axis represents all the load values and x-axis represents all the moment value. So this is called as PM interaction diagram or PM interaction curve. Okay. Now, the different cases whatever we have learned yesterday, that is the first case in which xu is infinity. Hmm? That is the first case, that is pu is sorry, e is 0 and the column is subjected to purely axial load. The second case we discussed is xu is outside the column, that is xu is greater than depth. Then third case we consider that xu is exactly on the edge, and fourth case we consider that xu is less than the depth of the column, that is the xu lies within the column. All these four cases can be seen on this interaction curve. So this is the first case. So corresponding to this particular point, the pu value and mu value we can find out for eccentricity equal to 0. Now the second case is the one in which our xu value is greater than the d. Xu value is greater than d. So sorry, this is the third point. Third point, xu value is greater than d. So at particular point 3, or I will go one by one. First point we have already discussed. So point 1 corresponds to the condition of axial loading with eccentricity equal to 0. Second point, that is point 1 dash, it corresponds to the condition of axial loading with the mandatory minimum eccentricity. Now, if you remember, we calculate minimum eccentricity, E minimum, right, with the formula L upon 500 plus D upon 30. Okay, with that, whatever the minimum eccentricity we calculate, for that corresponding to that minimum eccentricity, this is a particular point. So at this point, whatever the load and moment, you will find out it is corresponding to the minimum eccentricity value. So this is the first point, 1 dash. Then the next point is 2. Actually 2 case, point 2 represents a general case in which actually the neutral axis lies outside the section. So before that, we'll see the next point, that is point number 3. Point number 3 represents our case where we have considered that our xu is along the edge of the column. So this particular point represents the case when xu is equal to d. And point number 2 represents the second case where our xu is outside the section. Okay. And the next point, point number 4, it represents actually the case, the last case, that is our xu is within the column, right? Xu is within the column. Now, corresponding to this particular point 4, it is also called as a point corresponding to the balanced failure condition. We yesterday also discussed about the various modes of failure, in which we discussed 3 modes of failure. First is the balanced, second is compression, and third is tension. So balanced failure is the one in which the stresses develop in the steel and concrete, they develop at the same time in the column. So at that time, whatever the failure takes place, it is called as a balanced failure. And corresponding to this balanced failure, the eccentricity is called as ep, it is denoted by ep. So in this interaction curve, if we consider this particular line as a balanced failure line or corresponding to the balanced failure line, or if we'll join origin to the this point 0, the slope of this particular line is representing us the slope in this fashion, 1 upon e. So the horizontal distance is actually representing e, eccentricity. So above this particular line, whatever the eccentricity you will get, that eccentricity will represents a compression failure. And below this line, whatever the eccentricity you are getting, it represents the tension failure. So simply by observing this interaction curve, see what are the benefits of making use of interaction curve. We can readily find out what is the resistance of the column, resistance in terms of the force and resistance in terms of movement. What is the resistance shown by the column? Okay, if we find out any points on this curve, we can immediately find out what is the resistance shown by the column for a given specific dimension of a column and for given properties of the column. Properties means what is the grade of the steel, what is the grade of the concrete. Corresponding to that, we can find out the resistance shown by the concrete. And simply by observing those value or even by calculating the eccentricity value, E value, we can even find out what will be the mode of the failure, whether it will be a compression failure or whether it will be in tension failure or whether it is a balanced failure. So this is the use and benefit of the interaction curve. Now simply by making use of this curve, we can easily find out or easily we can design the column, because once you know what is the force of resistance shown by the column, corresponding to that we can easily find out the area of the steel required by making use of the same formula which we have considered in our earlier problem. Pu equal to 0.4 ag, that formula which is given by the code. So by making use of that formula, we can find out AC. Once we design the longitudinal reinforcement, lateral ties can also be found out easily. Okay, so making use of the equations and wasting the time, not wasting actually, but which involves a large time, we can go for the interaction curves for design of the columns. Okay, so whatever the design of column I'm going to teach you now, it will be based on the interaction curves only. I'm not going to solve any problem by making use of the equations. If you really want to see how the columns and designs are analyzed and columns are analyzed and designed based on the equation, you can refer any book. Okay, but here I'm going to explain you how to make use of the interaction curve for analyzing the column and for designing the column. Okay, now this is a specific interaction curve which you will find out in SP16, SP16. You need to have SP16 when you design the column. You will require this. Without that, you will not be able to design the column. So for your term work, you have to download SP16. It is freely available on internet. So you download SP16 and make use of those charts. I'm going to show you the SP16. But before that, I will show you this, or I will show you the diagram which are included in SP16. What all these values means and how to make use of this. Now, as I told, if I will go back to this interaction curve, there is a specific value of P for a specific value of M and E. And these values depends upon the specific dimension of the column and specific properties of the column. Now, if the dimension of the column will change, obviously this curve will change. Okay, and you can imagine we can have any dimension. The dimension of the column actually depends upon the designer's choice. So I can have any dimension of the column. I can use b equal to 253 and d equal to 300 or 200 300 or 300 350 300 400, any dimension I can use. Okay, so it becomes very difficult to plot an interaction curve for each and every dimension of a column which we select. So the another concept evolved that instead of considering the interaction curve based which is dependent on the dimension, let us draw the interaction curve which is dimensionless. Okay, so instead of putting the pu value and mu value directly on y and x axis respectively, we will put some non-dimensional term on y axis, and that non-dimensional term is obtained by this. Pu is the force divided by FCK into BD. This gives me the non-dimensional term. Okay, and that non-dimensional terms or values are plotted on y-axis. Similarly, for x-axis, mu is considered as a non-dimensional term or parameter which is calculated by mu divided by fck bd square. So this is actually a non-dimensional parameter. So all these non-dimensional parameters are located, or these are used to plot these interaction curves. Okay, now again, as I told, if we change FCK, if we change Fy value, obviously the interaction curve will change. Again, it also depends upon how our reinforcement is provided inside the column. Okay, whether it is uniformly distributed along all the faces or only along two faces, the reinforcement is provided. Again, whether our column is rectangular section or square section or it is circular. Okay, all these parameters are having a direct impact on the interaction curve. So based on certain criteria, these interaction curves are developed, and these are provided in SB16. So what is the criteria? The first case is consider that a rectangular section with reinforcement distributed equally on both sides. That is, the reinforcement is provided along the smaller dimension b. Okay, and how it is placed, it is equally. So whatever is the total area of steel, 50% is on this side and 50%, remaining 50% is on the another side. Along this face there is no reinforcement. Okay, even there are no any inner rows, like this case. Okay, so this is the first case for which, for different values of, now what are the what is the another value? The cover. What is the cover you are providing to the column? The cover may also vary. So that d dash by d, that is the effective cover to overall depth of the column, that ratio is considered, and for four different ratios the interaction curves are plotted. Okay, now these four values are taken as, that is d dash by d is taken as 0.05, 0.1, 0.15 and 0.2. For these four values the interaction curves are plotted. Okay, for this particular case of the reinforcement. Second case of reinforcement is considered like that. The reinforcement is provided uniform all the sides. That the reinforcement is distributed equally on all sides. That is, there are inner rows. Now, how this reinforcement is provided? Out of the total area of the steel, 30% area of the steel is provided along the shorter span, and remaining steel is provided in the interior part, like in the form of a inner rows. So at least two rows should be there. At least two inner rows must be there. So either these two rows are there, or these two rows are there, or all these four there. For all these conditions, the one interaction curve is given. One means, again, depending upon the d dash by d ratio, there will be four different curves. Okay, and the third case is not included here. This is for rectangular section. Similarly, for circular columns also, the interaction curves are there. Now, obviously, for circular column, we will not have a dimension of b and d. Obviously, both these dimensions will be replaced by the diameter d of the column, and this ratio will not be like pu upon fck into bd, but it will be pu upon fck into capital D diameter, and mu upon fck into capital D square. That d is nothing but diameter of the column. Okay, so these are the two cases considered for rectangular columns. And again, as I have told, there are four d dash by d ratios for which the interaction curves are prepared. Besides that, there is another important parameter which has an impact on interaction curve, that is the grade of the steel. So if we are using FY4 Fe250 grade, the interaction curve will values will be different. If we are using Fe5 415, the interaction curve values will be different. So for three different grades of the concrete, the interaction curves are drawn. Okay, so let me show you now SP16 copy. Okay, this is SP16. I will go to the first page to show you the title. Okay, so this is SP16 Design aids for reinforced concrete to IS 456 1978. We are using 2000, but the design aids are not different for 2000 code also. Okay, so this is SP16. I will go directly to the page where these interaction curves are given. So the interaction curve starts from page number 112. Okay, this is the interaction curve. Now, what are the information? What is the information given here? See, for Fy equal to 250, student, is it visible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So for Fy equal to 250 Newton per mm square and d dash by d ratio equal to 0.05, these curves are drawn. Okay. And the condition of the reinforcement is that the reinforcement is provided, uniform reinforcement is provided along the shorter direction of the column. So for this particular reinforcement condition and for this value of Fy and d dash by d ratio, the interaction curves are given. Okay, so on y-axis you will find out Pu by FCK BD values, on x-axis Mu by FCK BD values. Now what are these curves? So see, for this particular value of Pu by FCK BD, there will be the different values of Mu. Now how these values are changing? Now these are dependent upon the percentage steel we have used. Though it is shown that 4 and 4 8 steel in the diagram, we may provide 3 on both the sides. So total number of steels is 6. Total number of bars I have provided maybe 6. Okay, so AST, my area of the steel, AC will change here in case of column. So AC is changing means my percentage steel present in the column is also changing. So percentage steel, that factor is also having an impact on these curves, and all these values which you are finding here, all these values, these are representing the ratio P by FCK. Now this small p represents percentage steel. Percentage steel, how we calculate? 100 into ASC divided by B into D. That is giving me the percentage steel. So that percentage steel divided by FCK, that ratios are given here, and for different values of that ratio, the different curves are there. Okay, so if you know what is the percentage of steel given in the column and what is this d dash by d ratio, you can easily find out what is the resisting load or the axial load, PUR, and what is the axial, not axial, the moment resisted by the column by making use of these curves. Okay, so this is the first interaction curve. Then the next chart gives for the next d dash by d ratio 0.1. Next chart gives the curve for ratio d dash by d equal to 0.15, then zero point 0.2. Okay, all these are for Fe250. Then on the next page, you'll find out for Fe415. Again, the four ratios 0.05, then 0.1, then 0.15, and then 0.2. Okay, and then next you'll find out for Fy500, Fe500 grade steel. Okay, so this is 1, 2, that is d dash by d ratio 1 and 0.15 and 0.20. Okay, so 3 grades multiplied by 4 ratios. 12 charts are available for this particular arrangement of reinforcement. Now, if I will change the arrangement in this fashion, that is, the reinforcement is provided or it is distributed equally along all 4 directions. For this particular condition, again you will find out 12 charts. Okay, 3 charts or corresponding to 3 grades and 4 corresponding to the d dash by d ratio. So the combination of that. So these total charts, 12 charts, you will find out for this reinforcement arrangement also. Okay, and finally I want to show you the charts for circular column. Again, for circular column, this d dash by d ratio is 0.05, and for Fy250. Now here, there will be no question of how we are placing the reinforcement in case of circular column. For circular column, it is always placed uniformly throughout the diameter of the circle. So there will be no question of considering the different arrangements for reinforcement. Okay. So for a circular column, you will find out 12 charts like this, depending upon the grade of the steel and the d dash by d ratio. So these are the charts for the circular columns. Is it clear to everybody? The different interaction charts, interaction curves given in SP16. You have to download this SP16 and make use of these curves for considering or for completing the term mode part. During the examination, of course, whatever the data we obtain from this chart, from this chart will be provided to you directly. Okay? Is it clear? Interaction curves, concept of interaction curve.
Yes, ma'am.
Now let us move to the presentation now. I will discuss with you how to make use of the interaction charts for finding or for designing a column. Okay. So when we consider the bending about x-axis, the first step is we have to assume size of column such that column is short. It means for given length of the column, we have to find out the slenderness ratio, and the slenderness ratio should be equal to 12. By making use of that concept, we can find out the dimensions of the column. Then we have to also check for the minimum eccentricity. What is the minimum eccentricity? Whether E minimum is less than the given condition or not. If it is less, then you need to design the column as axially loaded column. If it is greater, design the column as um, eccentrically loaded column. Okay, and eccentricity again you have to calculate along both the axes. If it is if eccentricity, minimum eccentricity criteria is getting satisfied for one axis only, and for other axis it is not getting satisfied, it means your column is subjected to uniaxial bending. If both the criteria are not satisfied, it means your column is subjected to biaxial bending. Okay. Biaxial bending we will see in the next lecture. Let us finish first today the uniaxial bending column. Then we have to calculate this parameter. This is a non-dimensional term which is used for drawing the interaction curve. So calculate PU upon FCKBD and MU upon FCKBD square. B and D value we have already calculated. Okay. Then we calculate D dash by D. We have to assume some effective cover to the column and then calculate the ratio D dash by D. And then depending upon this ratio, we have to select the appropriate chart and we have to obtain the point of interaction of this. It means whatever this value and this value we have calculated, this value is y value, y axis value, this is x axis value. So plot these points on x and y axis, draw the horizontal and vertical lines from these points, and find out the point of interaction of these 2 points from these points, and that point of interaction will give us a particular value which is corresponding to your P by FCK ratio. You will find out the P by FCK ratio, and depending upon that you can find out ASC. Okay. So for bending about x-axis, this is the steps, and for bending about y-axis, instead of this ratio d dash by d, we have to make use of d dash by b ratio, and we have to repeat all these same steps. Okay, the mu formula will also be different. It will be mu upon fck b square d. So we have to check whether the bending is about x-axis or bending is about y-axis, and that is depend upon e value, ex value, whether we are getting ex greater than e minimum or ey greater than e minimum. Depending upon that, we have to select the appropriate steps. Okay, is it clear? Once we'll solve one problem now, you will understand how to make use of this interaction curve. So quickly note down this problem, and we are going to solve this problem now because I have not included the steps on slides. So quickly note down the problem. I will give you 2 minutes for writing the problem. Meanwhile, I will connect my tab. I will read the problem. Design an RC short column to resist an ultimate load of 1500 kilonewton and ultimate bending moment of 100 kilonewton meter about x axis. The unsupported length of column is 4 meter. Both ends of column are fixed. Use M20 grade concrete and Fe415 grade steel. Have you written the problem? Students?
Yes, ma'am. Done.
Okay. So let me open a Word file. I forgot to keep it open. Currently, okay, so the same problem statement I will simply copy and paste here so that the same material I can share you on VUL. Now, what is the given data? Tell me quickly. We'll write down the given data first.
Ultimate load 1500 kilonewton.
Just a moment. So the ultimate load is given, right? So it is
Yes, ma'am.
P, it is PU, right? What is the PU value? It is 1500 kilonewton, right?
Yes, ma'am.
What is the moment mu given?
100 kilonewton meter.
So it is 100 kilonewton meter. What else data is given here? The
Unsupported
unsupported
length.
L is equal to 4 meters. Okay. And the other value is given as M20 grade concrete and Fe415 grade steel is also given. Okay. Now, the first step, we have the unsupported length. So we have to first find out the effective length, right? So how to find out L effective? For that, some conditions must be given, end conditions. So what is the end condition given?
Both sides fixed.
Both ends, right? Both ends fixed. Now, quickly refer Annex E of IS 456. And for this particular condition, tell me what is the criteria for effective length.
0.65 L. Recommended value.
Yes, always consider recommended value. Don't use theoretical value. Okay, so LE, let us calculate LE 0.65 into 4. Value is
2.6.
2.6 meter. Okay, this is 2.6 meter. Okay, then we will find out the slenderness ratio. The next step is finding slenderness ratio. So it is lambda, or instead of, okay, I will write down lambda. The value is calculated as LE by B or LE by D. Both are the slenderness ratio. This is along X and this is along Y. Okay, this is lambda X and this is lambda Y. So both these must be less than 12 to have a column for short column, right? For, write down. for short column or for column to be short. This is a short form now for column. Okay. So what is our LE value? It is 2.6 meters. So let me write down 2600 by B or 2600 by D. Both should be less than 12. So I will bring 12 on this side and B or D on that side. So it will be 2600 by 12. It will be B or D. Okay. So find out the value.
216.67.
21.
216.67.
Yes. So my width of the column and also the depth of the column should be greater than 216. Okay. So I will consider let B is equal to 300 mm. Okay. I'm considering B as 300 mm and D equal to say 400 mm because I want to make a rectangular column. Okay. So I have assumed B as 300 mm and D as 400 mm. So these are my dimensions for the column. What is the next step? I think you have not noted the steps. Okay. The next step is to calculate the minimum eccentricity because based on this step, we actually find out how to design the column, whether it is to be designed as axially loaded or eccentrically loaded. In eccentrically loaded, again, whether it is uniaxial bending or biaxial bending. So let us find out the eccentricity. Let us first find out what is the actual eccentricity. So let us find out actual E value. It will be mu upon pu. So what is mu? Mu is 100, right? It is in kilonewton meter. So multiplying by 10 raised to 6. And pu is 1500 multiplied by 10 raised to 3. Tell me E value.
$66.67.
66.67 mm. So this is the actual eccentricity in the column. Now let us find out the minimum eccentricity, E minimum. So by the formula is L by 500 plus D by 30. So put the values. L is to be considered as effective length divided by 500 plus effective length is 2600, right? Divided by 500 plus D is 400 by 30. So minimum eccentricity is will be either this value or 20 mm, whichever is greater. This is the criteria, right? Whichever is greater.
18.33.
This is 18 you are getting?
Yes, ma'am.
I think L should be the check the criteria given in code. I have not kept the code open here. If you have a code, check the criteria for minimum eccentricity, whether it is unsupported length or the effective length. Are you checking? Guys, I think it is a unsupported length. So we should not use here the effective length. It must be unsupported length. So what is the unsupported length?
Yes, ma'am, it is unsupported length.
Right, it is unsupported length. So what is the value? 4000, right? 4 meter was the unsupported length. So tell me the value now.
21.33.
21.33. and 20, the greater of the two value is 21.33. So this is the minimum eccentricity. Okay, so I will simply write down here the minimum eccentricity is 21.33. Now compare this value with the actual value. What is the actual value? Actual value is 66.67. So E minimum is less than E actual. Huh? And this indicates that our column is eccentrically loaded. The column is eccentrically loaded. So just write down one statement. Design the column or design column as eccentrically loaded column with uniaxial bending. Okay. So now we will find out the non-dimensional parameters.
Ma'am,
Hmm.
why did we consider only uniaxial bending over here?
If we consider the another criteria here, what is the another criteria? L by 500 plus B by 30. Check the value.
18.
18.
18. 18, it is coming 18, right? Fine. But here the moment is given about x-axis only. Though the eccentricity about both, no, we should not consider the second eccentricity. Sorry. The bending moment is given about one axis only. What is the problem statement? I have written here. See, the design the RC short column to resist ultimate moment and ultimate bending moment about x-axis only. About y-axis, the moment is not given. It means it is a uniaxial bending. Okay, so there is no question of checking the another eccentricity also. That is B by 30 is not required to check because it is given about x axis. If it is given about y axis, then we need to use the formula as L by 500 plus B by 30. Second formula. The minimum eccentricity will be about the y-axis. Here the eccentricity is about the x-axis because the moment is given about x-axis only. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Now let us find out the non-dimensional parameters. So this is non-dimensional parameter. I'm going to extend the lecture by 10 minutes at least. What is the first non-dimensional parameter? It is pu, small pu is equal to capital Pu divided by FCK into BT. Okay, so just put the values. This is 1500 divided by FCK is 20, I guess. B is 300 and D is 400. Tell me this value, small pu.
0.625.
0.625. Okay. Then next, small mu is equal to mu upon FCK BD square. Put the values and tell me small mu.
0.104.
Yes. So these are the values now for our interaction curves. Okay, 0.625 and 0.104. Now to make or to choose the appropriate interaction curve, we will require one more data, that is what is d by d, d dash by d ratio. Okay, so we will assume here or providing, we will provide here providing d dash, that is effective cover, as say 50 mm. Minimum is 40 as per the code. So I'm providing 50 mm as the effective cover. So let us find out what is this d dash by d ratio. D dash is 50 and D, capital D, is 400. So what is the value?
0.125.
0.125. Okay. Now let us go to the SP16. We have to select the appropriate curve, right? Now here these are for FY, and another assumption we need to make, that how we are placing the reinforcement. So we will write down here, providing reinforcement on all four sides. Okay, providing reinforcement on all four sides. It means I'm providing the reinforcement uniformly along all the sides. I'm not placing the reinforcement along two sides only, that is along the shorter width of the column. I'm not placing the reinforcement, but I'm placing the reinforcement uniformly. So this will not be the case. Okay, this will not be our case. I'm providing the uniform reinforcement. So this diagram I have to refer. Yes, this diagram. Okay. Now for this diagram, check D dash by D ratio. It is 0.125, and also check FY. FY is 415. So I will go to the 415 graph. This is FY 415. D dash by D ratio is 0.01. Ours is 0.125. Okay. Second is 0.1 and third is 0.15. So there is no graph available for D dash by D ratio of 0.125. So what we have to do? We have to consider the two charts corresponding to the different D dash by D ratio, and we will interpolate our value for those ratios. It means my value is 0.125, which lies between 0.1 and 0.15, or 0.10 and 0.15. Okay, so I have to find out the values first by making use of this curve, and then I will find out the values by making use of this curve, and finally I will interpolate the values for my D dash by D ratio, that is 0.125. Okay, so what to find out exactly now? How to find out? How to make use of this curve? Let us consider first curve, that is D dash by D ratio equal to 0.1. Now for that, we already have this value, PU upon FCK BD. The value is, what is the value?
0.625.
0.625. So I will plot the value here, somewhere here, 0.625. So you find out what is the least count of this chart, and place 0.625 value over here, a point. Then draw a horizontal line here. Similarly, place the point of mu by FCK BD square value. That value is, I think, 0.104, right? So 0.1054, again find out what is the least count here, and locate the point as corresponding to 0.104 value. So for on this, suppose the point is coming over here, so I will draw a vertical line here. So the line coming in horizontal direction and line going up in vertical direction, they will meet together at a certain point. Okay, now check the point uh, to which particular curve that point is closer. Okay, suppose the value, I can easily find out here that for this 0.1 value and somewhere here, my point is falling somewhere here. So it is close to this curve. Okay, now this curve is corresponding to 0.14 value. 0.14 is my P by FCK value. Okay, P represents my percentage T. Okay, so in this fashion, I'm finding the P by FCK value by making use of these charts. So I have already done this exercise here in the presentation. I will quickly show you. This is the curve which we are referring, first curve for 0.1 D dash by D ratio. Here I have plotted in the next PPT, I have little bit zoomed this curve, and I have plotted a line corresponding to 0.625. Guys, are you able to see this presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
So I have drawn a line corresponding to 0.625. This is the y-axis line. X-axis line is corresponding to 0.104. So if you consider the least count of this is 0.11. So it will lie between these two lines. So it is close to 0.10. So I have considered 0.1 as the point, and I have plotted a line over here. Okay. So this is a line passing through point 1. Now these two lines are intersecting here. They are intersecting fortunately exactly on a curve. This is the curve. Now for this curve, the value, this curve we have to refer, right? This curve, for this curve, the value is 0.14. Okay, for this curve, the value is 0.14. What is this value? This value is actually P by FCK. Here, the small p represents percentage steel. Is it clear, guys, how to make use of this curve? So I will quickly go to the problem, whatever we are solving here, and I will write down simply the table here. So I'm having a different d dash by d ratios, and I'm finding P by FCK value from the interaction curve. So the first value I'm referring as 0.10. My value is 0.125. And it will be interpolated between 0.15. Okay, so by making use of the appropriate interaction curve, initially we have calculated for 0.1 d dash by d ratio, the value of percentage steel or P by FCK, this ratio is coming as 0.14. Okay, similarly, now I will make use of the second curve, second graph. So if I will go to the SP16, this is the first curve. On the next page immediately, chart number 45 is corresponding to 0.15, d dash by d ratio 0.15. So again, I have used this graph. I will go to the presentation now. So this is what we have already calculated. And for next, that is for d dash by d ratio equal to 0.15, again I have plotted a line corresponding to 0.625 and a vertical line corresponding to 0.104. This is coming close to this particular curve. The value is 0.60. Okay? Is it clear to everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So let us consider this 0.16 value here. Quickly interpolate the value now between 0.14 and 0.16 and find out what is this value we are getting.
0.15.
0.15. Okay. So my P by FCK value is coming as 0.15. So put the value of FCK here and find out P. So it is 0.15 into 20. What is the value?
3.
It is 3. So my percentage steel coming is, percentage steel is coming as 3%. Okay. Compare this value with the minimum and maximum. The minimum value is 0.8%, right? 0.8%. So this value, this value should be greater than the minimum value. So I will write down here, this value should be greater than minimum and it should be less than the maximum. Maximum value is considered as a 4%. Practically, though it is mentioned in the code as 6%, we actually consider it as 4%. We already have gone through the note given below that maximum limitation. So I'm considering 4%. So the percentage steel is well within the required range. So let us find out now ASC. How we represent PT, percentage steel, as 100 into ASC upon BD, right? So 100 into ASC is unknown upon B is 300, B is 300 and D is 400. Equate it to 3%. So find out ASC from this. What is ASC we are getting?
3600.
3600 mm square. Okay, this is the value 3600. Now we have to find out the number of bars. I'm considering uniformly distributed bar. So if I will consider my rectangular column here, I have to place one bar at each corner and I'm considering uniform distribution. So I'm providing 6 bars. Okay, now the area is 3600, which is little bit higher. So instead of considering 6 bars, I will consider 8 bars. Otherwise, if I will go to 6 bar, my bar diameter required will be more. So I will provide like this now. Okay, this is my uniform distribution. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Total 8 bars I'm providing. So ASC, or I will write down the number of bars. What is our formula? Number of bars equal to total area divided by area of a individual, I should write down here, pi d square by 4, individual bar diameter. Okay, number of bars I have selected as 8 here. So this is 3600 divided by pi d square by 4. Find out what is d we are getting. This d is bar diameter. Huh? Quickly, guys. Fast. What is the value? Guys, you are having next lecture or not?
23.9.
90.
23.9. So we never get a bar diameter of 23 or 24, we get 25. So we'll provide a bar diameter of 25 mm. Okay, so write down a statement here. Provide 8 numbers 25 mm diameter longitudinal bars or longitudinal reinforcement. Okay, and the
Ma'am?
next step, yes.
Ma'am, for what we did in this step, why did you consider 8 instead of 6?
Because if I will consider 6, my bar diameter will be more. No problem if you consider 6. My bar diameter will go up to 30 or 32 mm.
Okay.
No problem. Okay. So the next step is designing the lateral ties. This part you can do and on your, or I'm giving this as a homework. Lateral ties, you have to decide its diameter as per the specification and its spacing. Okay. Both these you can do easily by referring the code, IS code and its provision. Or this small part we will see in the next lecture. Do we have next lecture at 2:15?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Then I need to stop here. Okay, so simply lateral ties design you can do on your own. This is very easy. The code has already given the specifications, what should be the diameter of the ties and what should be the spacing of the tie. So accordingly you find out the lateral tie design, and then finally you need to draw the diagram showing the reinforcement details. Okay, so this is regarding the design of uniaxial bending columns. One more problem we will discuss, but we will discuss in the next lecture now. I will give you quickly the attendance link, and I will keep this attendance link open for next 10 minutes. All are requested to give the attendance through this link only. Okay. So isn't it easy? By making use of interaction curve, the design of column is very easy. Now, if you refer different books, the books which are more famous for RC design is the one written by Mr. Shah and Curve. Okay, in that they have given their own method. They have given their own curves. Curve's curve. They are calling it as Curve's curve. Okay, so don't go for that particular method, because it is a method suggested by them, but it is not recommended by the code. Code recommends the method given in SP16. So you can use SP16 and make use of interaction curves for designing and analyzing the columns subjected to eccentric loading. Okay, so we will stop here. If you have any doubt, we will discuss them in the next lecture because time is running now. So I will stop today.